In 1934, the very first vodka distillery was set up in the US.
The widespread consumption of vodka made even the largest of gin producers look at ways to get on the bandwagon. Gordon's Gin released a Gordon's Vodka.
Gordon's vodka, who would have thought it? The success of cocktails like the Moscow Mule took vodka from strength to strength, and throughout the swinging 60s and 70s, it established dominance over gin. In 1934, the very first vodka distillery was set up in the US.
The widespread consumption of vodka made even the largest of gin producers look at ways to get on the bandwagon. Gordon's Gin released a Gordon's Vodka.
Gordon's vodka, who would have thought it? The success of cocktails like the Moscow Mule took vodka from strength to strength, and throughout the swinging 60s and 70s, it established dominance over gin.
Today, gin is something drunk in a diverse range of cocktails and includes a variety of styles from Geneva, London Dry, and of course, New World gins.
Surprisingly, Londoners, British Indians or Americans aren't the biggest consumers of gin. In fact, the highest consumers per capita in the world are actually the Filipinos.
Filipinos, really? The rise in popularity of gin within the Philippines is largely due to the low taxes and the local gin production, which, with its easy accessibility, enjoy over 265 million litres of gin each year.
That's more than the UK, US, Spain and India combined. Since 2000, sales of gin have increased immensely. This is driven by innovation in the category and the launch of so many quality brands.
Now, gin is back. Can we drink to that?
Absolutely. Wow.
Cheers.
Gin's back, baby. To understand gin production, we can break it down to a couple of different styles. It breaks down to being either a London Dry style, where we steep the botanicals and boil them,
or a more infused style whereby the botanicals are suspended above the alcohol, which get vaporized before turning back into a liquid.
That's right. Now, most other spirits generally start from scratch by fermenting base ingredients, adding yeast and water and something that contains starch to create a beer before beginning the distillation process. Gin, however, usually starts with a base alcohol.
This can be made from any number of substances, but predominantly it's wheat. Other popular choices are other cereal grains or grapes.
Because of this process, gin is often described as vodka with flavor, which to us means a high-proof spirit is flavored with plant extracts or botanicals in order to create a gin profile.
Depending on the producer and the various methods of distillation used, traditionally gin is made in copper pot stills in batches, starting with a rectified spirit at 96% ABV.
It's generally diluted back to approximately 50% before then being either layered with botanicals and steeped before cranking up the heat.
Or the spirit is heated to create the vapors that take on the flavor of the suspended botanicals.
The skill of the distiller and distillman decide on the point when the cut should be made. This is where we separate the heads, heart and the tails of the spirit. Only the best cut, the heart, is taken forward to then become the gin that goes into the bottle.
To make gin, the distiller first needs to select the botanicals they want to wrap around the core flavor of base spirit, which with gin is always juniper.
In order to impart these flavors in the spirit, the distiller can use one of a few methods. The first and most popular is maceration, where the botanicals are soaked in the spirit and then distilled with it so that it imparts the flavors. Cart ahead is a method that uses a basket for the botanicals during distillation. During evaporation, alcoholic vapors rise up through the basket of botanicals, very much like a percolator.
Some producers of New World gins choose to distill botanicals and then blend the liquids after to retain and control flavor.
Then the distillate is reduced to bottling strength with purified water, creating the finished product.
Makes sense?
It certainly does.
Crystal clear to me. Let's look at the types and styles of gin, AG.
London Dry is a benchmark of quality in the world of gin. Generally referred to as English or dry gin, it's recognized for its balance of flavors and the exceptionally versatile flavor of juniper, citrus, floral and earthy flavors all combined very well. London Dry Gin is often the go-to for making martinis.
Plymouth Gin is clear, slightly fruity, full-bodied, very aromatic with a citrus note. This style of gin originated at the Blackfriars Distillery in the Port of Plymouth on the English Channel and is one of only 2 distilleries making gin to have its own appellation.
Old Tom Gin is a sweeter version of London Dry and preceded the drier style. Pure cane syrup is used to sweeten this style of gin, where Old Tom was the original gin used for the classic cocktail Tom Collins, and most definitely the gin of choice in the 18th century.
Geneva is the Dutch and Belgian version of gin, which predates and inspired all other gins. It was first distilled in the Middle Ages for medicinal purposes. This variety is distilled from malted grain mash, similar to whiskey, and tends to be lower in alcohol than its English counterparts. Geneva is often aged in oak casks for 1 to 3 years and comes in 2 styles. Old Geneva is the original style and relatively sweet and aromatic, while Young Geneva is drier and lighter in style.
The name New World Gin began to be used in the early 2000s to describe a number of new gins that have pushed the boundaries of the spirit's definition. It relies mainly on the dominance of juniper. In this era, many craft gin distillers release gins that concentrate on flavours other than juniper, with an emphasis on local or imported botanicals. Understanding the types of gin is important, with primary types of gin being London Dry, New World, Old Tom and fruit gins. We now focus on these styles and match them with different expressions of tonic.
We do this to help with the flavour matching in the world's most popular way of enjoying gin, with tonic water. The styles of gin are perfumed, aromatic and fragrant. Think of big bursts of juniper and typically London Dry styles. These gins are complemented by the fresh and floral flavours found in Fever Tree Elderflower Tonic.
Herbal, vegetal and zesty. Think New World gins with a balanced variety of new and traditional ingredients, but with a more subtle hint of juniper. These types of gin work very well with light and citrus flavours found in Mediterranean tonic water.
Sweet, creamy and fruity. Think Old Tom or sloe gin, and gin liqueurs that have juniper in a deluxe sweet expression. Sweeter gins like these work very well with the contrasting cut-through of citrus in lemon tonic.